There are some actual NFL games in the books. That's right. The Detroit Lions are the undisputed leaders of the NFL right now. Currently, is that going to last? Probably not. But at the same time, we have to give them credit. Our friend who's always in the comments here, I don't even want to know. I'm staying out of the comments because I can't imagine what he's going to be saying during the show today. But this is going to be a great one. It is the return of Ranks Rivals. We're going to be having Tom Grassi joining us here, our friend. And of course, don't worry, we've got a palate chaser. Greg Braggs Jr. will be joining after that. But you know what? We have such a jam-packed show. Let's get started, Sammy.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Ray.
Trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. That is right. Actual football has been played. We are mere hours away from week one. Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, the greatest rivalry in NFL history. So it's only fitting that we get started today with our friend, Tom Grassi, who has made his triumphant return. Oh, look at what he's got.
Sorry. I didn't know. Sorry.
What, already? You know what? Aaron Rodgers didn't win a lot of those in Green Bay. He actually looked at the one Super Bowl trophy in New York and was like, yeah, I got one too. That's it. For all of my time as a Hall of Fame player, that's all I got.
How many did Justin Fields have? And I only asked that because Bears fans have been talking it up like they've won several already this season. So I just wanted to see like how
accurate. We've actually just tried to be a little, it's Matt Eberflus who's been talking Super Bowl. The rest of us have tried to play a little, temper our expectations a little bit. But we're ready. I think this is a great time because we feel like our quarterback is ascending. You don't have a quarterback anymore. I mean, listen, was your guy the third team All Mountain West during his final season at Utah State? He was, and that's a great accolade. And so I think because the Mountain West has just churned out a ton of NFL quarterbacks. There's no way this could go poorly, right?
No, absolutely not. I love the fact that you got rid of all your running backs because you already had one at QB, and you were just like, you know what, let's just stick with that. We don't even need to do it. It's a bold strategy. Let's see if it pans out.
Well, you know what? You can, if you run through the goal line or if you pass through the goal line, they all count the same. That's the biggest thing. Let's get into the end zone. But before we get too far down the road into what's going to be happening this weekend with the Bears and the Packers, I did want to take a moment to talk about the tremendous work you did this season. If for those of you that missed it, and I know you can go back to the Packcast and check this out, and I encourage everybody to do so. You were raising money for St. Jude, 30 stadiums in 30 days. Tell us a little bit about that tour. How awesome, because it not only looked exhausting, but it looked amazing.
Yeah, no, it honestly was like the greatest time of my life. It was exhausting, 30 straight days of travel. It was funny. I was on a podcast with Tommy Dreamer like a couple of days ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's like, the most I've ever done is 28 days on the road straight. And I was just like, all right, I got him. But yeah, it was exhausting beyond belief, but it was so awesome. It was awesome just to meet like so many fans and then just to go out and see all these cities, places I've never been to before. It was incredible. And we raised like $500,000 for St. Jude. So can't really
$500,000.
Can't really get too much better than that.
That is the best part of that. And I do know too, we got a lot of people who are participating. I actually somebody wanted me to do a free cameo for them. And I'm like, you know what you can do? I go, you can hook up with Tom here, send him money. Don't send it to me. And I know you're still raising money for it, and you do a lot of great work with St. Jude. So I appreciate you doing all that. Low key, what was your favorite stadium? Like, was there one that you were kind of caught off guard? Like, wow, this place is actually really nice.
Yeah, it's Mercedes-Benz. Like the Atlanta Falcons stadium is gorgeous. Like everybody who's listening, and anytime I've been asked that question, it's the Falcons. Their stadium absolutely blew me away because they're doing things that other teams are just not doing. Whether it's like, obviously there's like the affordable pricing, and they said like a family of four can eat for like $30, and that's great. Don't get me wrong. Like that's awesome. but it's just like the sustainability that they do. The stadium is gorgeous itself. Then it's like all solar power. They power all of their home games and Atlanta United games just through solar. Like they have these huge vats of water that like, it's so crazy just how much they were like, yeah, no, like we're going to build something that's not going to like hurt the city of Atlanta. I think 10% of the waste is like landfill, but none of it goes into Atlanta. The rest is all compost and recycling, like just things that you wouldn't even think about when you think about football stadiums they were doing. And so, yeah, I appreciated that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I appreciated too, is like you hear about the concessions, but all the amazing things that they've done with that stadium. It sounds incredible. I hate to say this, and because I hate to give them credit for anything, Minnesota actually has a decent stadium. I'm sort of bummed out about that.
Yeah, I only saw the outside because the one day I was there, they weren't doing tours. So I looked in and it looked really, really nice.
They wouldn't let you in? Like,
no. Well, I mean, so to be fair, the Bears didn't let me in either, but they were the nicest no because they were. And the only reason they said no was because that day Taylor Swift was setting up because we had conflicting schedules. Taylor and I, we didn't talk to our publicists. So we were both doing stadium tours. So I think hers was like a tiny bit more successful than mine, but no one's really.
I don't know. Actually, you did a lot of great work, but yeah, that's that is actually a really nice stadium too. I haven't made it down to Atlanta, but that is a really good stadium. Las Vegas is pretty cool. That is the home of Super Bowl. What are we at? 58 now, 59, whatever. I haven't really paid attention to Super Bowls a lot over the last, 50 years. But there is a lot of optimism. And it's very unusual because at this present time, and this is not to take a knock away from Jordan Love or anything. And in all fairness, I liked Jordan Love when he was coming out of college. I thought he was worth a first-round pick. I even thought that the Chargers could be in the mix for him, of course, before they ended up taking Justin Herbert. What is the feeling like in Green Bay? I know for a lot of people your age, you can't remember what it's like to not have a legitimate one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
What is it like? Do you guys just assume like, oh, of course, yeah, we drafted him. Of course, this guy's going to be pretty good. What is the feeling around Jordan Love right now?
So that's the thing. There's a couple of different camps here. Like when I went to training camp, like there was just a ton of excitement about Jordan Love and like just the youth of this team because you just don't know what you have, right? Like we can predict and we can do all this stuff, but until Jordan Love actually gets on there, because he's had one NFL start, which was against the Chiefs, and then he came in for like the Eagles game, came in for the Lions game, but you really just haven't seen him play a whole lot. He looked better in the preseason last year. He looked real good in the preseason this year. It's just a matter of like the expectations are if we're bad, obviously that's unfortunate. But if we're good, it's going to be like a pleasant surprise because you just don't know what you have. So for the first time in my life as a Packers fan, I don't have these expectations of like, oh, we have Brett Favre or oh, we have Aaron Rodgers. Like we're going to be contending for a Super Bowl this year. Like I don't think that. But I'm not going to lie, like there is a little bit of relief that's there because the tragic losses that we have had year after year after year after year in the postseason or in week 18, like it was last year, have just been like so gut wrenching. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay to like sit back this season and be like, if we win like 10 games, I'm thrilled.
Do you really feel that way? Because I know this has been one of the things that a lot of the Packers organization, what the general manager feels. You've done a pretty nice job of roster building. The defense has a slew, and that's a technical term, slew of first-round picks on it. They feel like they should be very competitive. And it's funny because everybody loves the Lions. Bears fans, we're out of control because that's what we do. Like there's just something about being a Bears fan. Like nothing can just, I mean, I know there's bitter guys, but like most of us are just like, no, this is it. Like we've got it. We're going to do all this stuff.
Sure.
And so you have to feel like you still got a pretty good team. It almost feels insulting the way people are being dismissive of you because, again, this is a pretty good team.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? So you mentioned all the draft capital that has been poured into that defense. And last year, even Brian Gutekunst came out and said at the end of the year conference, he's like, I thought our defense was going to be able to kind of hold our offense up because last year, Devontae Adams leaves, MVS leaves, and it's kind of like, okay, let's try it with these like really inexperienced receivers and see what happens. And obviously there were bumps in the road and the defense did not pick up the slack. They had that nice like 5-game stretch near the end in which they played really well, but that comes down to like Joe Barry, and Packers fans are not a fan of Joe Barry because it's like, okay, you have all this talent. How come they aren't one of the best defenses in the league? Because at this point, we should be seeing the results, right? So yeah, there's a ton of optimism, but I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh yeah, we're going to be a top 10 defense last year. We were not, and we couldn't stop the run again. So I'm kind of just like a wait and see. I mean, we have some, Kenny Clark is of course amazing. Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary, who got taken off the injury report. Like he's ready to go. Like I'm super excited for a lot of these guys. And then the offense, yeah, like there's just a ton of inexperience, but there's so much potential. Christian Watson, who unfortunately isn't going to be playing on Sunday as it was announced, but you know, Romeo Dobbs coming into his second year, Luke Musgrave. I know tight ends usually don't make a splash their first year, but I mean, they've been utilizing him all over the field, so I wouldn't be surprised. And then you still have Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, and the O-line is great. So yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to definitely be a competitive football team. The Packers don't have the toughest schedule either. And while the Lions did really, really well against the Chiefs, you know, I think the division for maybe second, third, and fourth place is going to be up in the air. So,
Wait,
yeah.
We're not going to cede this to the Lions already, are we? I mean, it was a good win, but...
well, I had them winning the division this year. Yeah. I mean, I think they have just... when they got Penei Sewell, when Jamar Chase went to the Bengals and Penei Sewell fell into their laps, I was like, damn, that's a really good pick. And they did it the right way, right? They got Jared Goff, who, let's be very honest, nobody, including the Lions, were like, this is our guy. But, you know, we got some value from Matthew Stafford. We had to do what we had to do. They invested in the trenches, which is where they need to. And now, like, they have a competitive team. But that team has been like, I'm going to punch you in the mouth and do something about it. They've been kicking the Packers' ass for the past, like, 2 seasons. So at this point, you know, I kind of was like, all right, it might be the Lions' time. Like they might go out and win the division. Of course, anything can still happen. It's still just week 1. But yeah, I think the Packers are definitely be in contention, and I would not be shocked if they have like a 10-win season.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of talent there. And I know that Bears fans should probably not get too hype and not get too like overload your expectations. And then there's me. Because as you say, you talked to Tommy Dreamer recently. I'm Twitter friends or Instagram friends with Tommy Dreamer. We got like a lot of like wrestling friends. So of course, I think we both, you know, we both have that same sort of sensibility. Sammy, I don't know if we do have my hype video available. I want to make Tom watch it. And I want
Gentlemen, my name is Adam Rank, and it is time for a new day in Chicago. For far too long, there was an irredeemable squatter laying ownership rights to the greatest franchise in NFL history. Well, guess what? That ends right now. It is time for a new world order. Justin Fields is ready to stake his claim as one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And I understand the past 15 years, there have been some hard times, but it will all be worth it. Because this Sunday, the Chicago Bears will start a new tradition of destroying the Green Bay Packers. And after that game on Sunday, we'll be cheering from Naperville to Downers Grove, from Schaumburg to Sandwich. It is time to celebrate the greatest organization in sports. And I hope there is a stock offering in Green Bay, because from this day, we own you.
So, 2 things. 3 things. Nice wrestling promo, and throw the NWO in there. That was good.
There was. I counted it. There's 5 wrestling references.
Yeah, that was good. I appreciated that. Second, I love how you have Justin Fields highlights against the Packers, but you cut off the scoreboard because you know how those games ended. And then the third thing is, remember when I just said Bears fans were getting a little too hype and talking too much this offseason? And then you just showed me a 60-second hype video saying it's a new day. Yes, it is. So, okay, like, do you actually like buy into it now? And if so, like, I want to know why. Because I think Justin Fields, I think he gets crapped on way too much. The guy can throw the ball. The guy was running for his life, and Luke Getsy in the beginning of that year was not developing any kind of game plan for the player that he is. And then they started to do so, and they found some success, especially later on during the season, at least with Fields, right? Yeah. So I can understand the Fields excitement. DJ Moore, good God, that is phenomenal for you guys, because I think he's going to be a stud. You have a rebuilding defense. The offensive line is okay, right?
Yeah.
running backs, I like Khalil Herbert. Like, I think he'll be okay with that end. Darnell Mooney is actually one of my favorite wide receivers. I think he's super duper underrated. But like, what about this year gets you so hyped? And like, where's the ceiling for that?
I'm always willing to love and willing to just buy into every team that I root for because, to me, I don't like the idea of just like throwing away seasons or this doesn't matter or anything like that. Cause like, if you're a player, you certainly don't know how long your NFL career is going to be. So of course you're like, why not us? And it's one of those things that we had Tyler Scott on. We're going to have him on the Sick Podcast every Tuesday. He was telling a story. Excuse me real quick. I get verklempt when I think of this. I get misty. Jaquan Brisker, is leading this, players only meeting, talking about why not us. And one of the things that's great about the NFL is that the fortunes can turn immediately and so quickly. We've seen it over the last couple of years. I mean, even look at the Lions, who last season started 2-6 before they ended the way that they did. And so one of the things is you look at the history of number one wide receivers joining an ascending quarterback. You look at Stephon Diggs going to Buffalo. You look at AJ Brown going to Philadelphia. I personally, and I think the playoffs is in line, especially with the NFC being down, with the NFC North being a little bit more wide open. If Detroit is the best team, that's fine. But I think Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago all kind of stand in the same, like we all have our reasons to believe.
Sure.
And so it is a little bit of a disappointment that Tevin Jenkins is not going to be available for the first couple of weeks, because it seemed like we finally had some continuity on the offensive line, but still should be good enough. We hope that Braxton Jones develops for 1 year. We hope that Darnell Wright was the correct selection. And they spent a lot of draft capital rebuilding the defensive line, spending the money on TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Tyreek Stevenson, had he stayed at Georgia, probably would have been a first-round pick. So there are reasons to talk you into this. It's kind of like you already want to do something. It's like when you go out, like you go out on a Thursday night and you shouldn't, but you start finding the reasons why you should, like, well, you only live once and I never get to see these guys. There is an element of that going in, but I tend to, I want to be excited. And I think for Bears fans, we're chomping at the bit. Like you were talking earlier about, like, I don't care if we suck for a season because I need a little bit of a break of getting my feelings hurt.
Whoa, hold on. I care very much if we suck. Very, very, very much. My thing is, my expectations this year aren't, oh my God, we're going to the Super Bowl. Because every year, like, and I know that there's no way that I can say this where it doesn't come off of me being cocky. But I promise it's not. It's legit. Every year you had Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers, I was like, yeah, 100%. We're in contention. Like, we could win the Super Bowl this year. And except for 2 times in my life, right, we didn't. So at that point, it's kind of like, okay, every time you don't, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the 2020 and 2021 really kind of just put the nail in the coffin there. But yeah, no, I think like it's just having those expectations before the season even starts. It's like the Lions, right? If the Lions got blown out 41-0 week 1, it would have been a very different vibe this morning, right? But they didn't. They freaking won. And so they are hyped to the moon. Packers, I got to be honest with you, Adam. We might not be good this year, but because of this offseason, I want to beat the Bears.
Of course you do.
So bad. No. It's not an of course, because the issue is it's your Super Bowl every year.
This is the thing. These hype videos, we can't take the low road. I can't just lay low. No. Like, it would be the smart thing just to say nothing. And I get it from fans too, who are like, hey, keep the expectation. I'm like, no, I want to go out there.
All gas.
But we still, because we love wrestling. And like, if I come up here and people tell me, like, a lot of the comments on these videos, be it TikTok or Reels or wherever I've posted this, they're like, I'm saving this video. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, come back for it. But like, it's like, if Cody Rhodes is out there cutting a promo, loses in WrestleMania, you don't pull up his promo from 3 weeks ago. Like, oh, this aged poorly. Like, no, you just move on. I've already prepared myself. Because like I have 2 ideas for next week, because I'm going to be cutting wrestling promos every week, because I've decided this is something that I really love to do. And I think it's still kind of a job addition for Tony Khan, maybe Triple H, because, I might look too close to Triple H that he might not want me around unless he just brings me in as his own little stooge. But
Tomorrow Tampa and you. I mean, you can. Yeah, I think
maybe
you could just slip in one day and then you just get thrown in the ring with Johnny Gargano. I think it's fine.
I think it would be all right. I think I would hang out there. I think it would work out pretty well for me. I think I would be the kind of guy that you just want to see get beaten up. And I think that I've put the Bears kind of in that spot, which is a little unfortunate because, I know a lot of fans don't appreciate it when we do this, but I have to be true to it. And I'm like, it's just one of those things that I just want to believe. I don't know. I just want to believe that this is going to be it. And I know, and I told Tyler himself, I said, listen, if we don't win, I'm not emotionally prepared for this.
No, it's going to be, because I've said, if the Packers win on now without Christian Watson too, if we're able to win on Sunday, I'm going to be insufferable. Because the last time I made a promo video, like the one that you just did, was the day before the NFC Championship game against the Buccaneers. And guess what? I never did it again.
You never.
I did Eye on Hype one for I lied. I did a hype video for last season before week 1. That went well too. So yeah, no, I just think me and promo videos, we just don't
That's what you want. You want the panache. And I don't care if everybody comes back and does this age like poor milk or anything like that. I don't care. I'm willing to take those slings and arrows. I as a fan, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And for those of you who don't know, and I always have to tell them, like, who are your other teams that you root for? Cubs? I'm like, no. I grew up in Southern California, so I root for the Angels. That's gone exceptionally well for me. I root for Arsenal. Oh, last year was a joy. The other day when Arsenal was losing to Fulham, I'm like, you know what? I almost packed it in. I'm like, I've cursed the Bears. The Bears. Like, why do I care? Like, why am I doing this? I've ruined Otani's arm. Arsenal's going to lose, but you know what? I'm a glutton for punishment, and I'm hopeful that the Bears are going to be doing. Hopefully, this will be a celebratory video at the end of this Sunday. What do you expect, though? Let's put you on the record for the prediction. Yeah. What do you got for this week?
I think losing Watson is a big loss. Showed up with a hamstring issue on the injury report. Got confirmed today that he's not going to be playing out there, unfortunately. I think Romeo Doubs is going to probably get the lion's share of targets. But my thing is, like, all right, let's see how good of a coach Matt LaFleur really is. Yeah. Let's see, like, without the Aaron Rodgers, because that was why he never even got considered for coach of the year, right? It's because you have Aaron Rodgers. So I'm very curious. I think that Love is going to look better than expected. You guys definitely added some draft capital to that defense, but it is a rebuilding defense after especially sending some key players away. So I'm looking forward to that. I just hope they utilize Aaron Jones, because like every time he touches the ball, like usually good things happen unless he fumbles, which doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's terrible. So I want to see a good ground game. I'm really excited for that. But the other thing I'm really excited for is our pass rush against your O-line. And containing Justin Fields is going to be incredibly difficult. The Packers usually have a history of not being able to stop mobile QBs. But if you're going to force Justin Fields to throw, I think that's the best chance. I think the most exciting matchup, though, from Sunday is going to be DJ Moore and Jair Alexander. I cannot wait to watch that for 4 quarters. So that's really exciting. It's going to be tough. It's in Chicago. Losing Watson definitely has hurt a bit. I say the Packers still walk out, and it's an ugly game. Like maybe it's like 17-14, something like that. I'll still say it's the Packers winning because I ain't going on a Bear show and saying.
Right? What are you going to do? Yeah, that's the one thing. They've asked me before when I have to do picks. They're like, who do you want to pick here? I'm like, the Bears. Like, yeah, of course. Like, I'll never go against that. What are you going to be doing Sunday? Now, you do a live stream during the games on Sunday. Where can people watch that?
Yeah, so you just go on Tom Grassi on YouTube, and I'll be there. There's a lot of hype for this Sunday, so I'll be streaming that game, and it's gonna be a time, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. With this game coming up, you were the guy that we needed to have on the show. Thank you so much for all the research and all the fundraising that you did for St. Jude's.
Appreciate you, buddy.
And no, that was awesome. It was awesome to follow along. And I know we can sit here and pick fun at each other's teams, but you're a great person. We love having you on. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll see how this goes on Sunday.
Go Pack, go, baby.
All right. Get out. Yeah, you go. Go, Tommy, go. He's a great guy. We love having him on. And when it comes to ranked rivals, this is a guy that we have to have on. But before we get to our next guest, I want to let everybody know that the easiest way to play fantasy football is with Underdog Fantasy. And right now you can go to underdogfantasy.com, or better yet, download the app. We were talking about the Christian Watson news. That news was broken to me on my phone because I have the Underdog Fantasy app, and I'm like, oh, wow, Christian Watson is not going to play this week. So head over to underdogfantasy.com, download the app, and use the promo code SICK. And when you make your first deposit, Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. It is a great way to get started. We're going to have some contests throughout the season to get everybody involved. So we hope you go to underdogfantasy.com. And it's just a great way to keep track of the news of the NFL. And as much as we love Tom, and we do, Tom is a great guy. We love him. We love the fact, again, that he was raising so much money for St. Jude's, but we still need a palate cleanser. So we got to go to the bricklayer himself. Let's bring in Greg Braggs Jr. Let's talk some Bears football. Let's bring this back around. Listen, you're our closer. We'll let Tom come in here and open the show. But we got to bring I was thinking about what Bears personality, because you're a member of the media now, a serious member of the media.
That's right.
You hear that? Listen, cut this clip off for your posterity and say, this is a serious member of the media. We're extremely excited to have you back on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You can hear me. Everything good on our end?
Yeah, you're hearing. You're
okay.
Great.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm living on Meatball Island. There's nothing but serious meatballs on Meatball Island. We're having a lot of fun. Just a couple days away from being rid of the hypothetical conversations as it pertains to who are the Bears, who are the Packers. I'm at a point now, and listening to the back end of your interview with Tom, where he talks about, the Bears should win this game. That's where it's molded. Because when the schedules first came out, the first thought that came to my head was the Bears can't win this game because or can't lose this game because of the implications, not having Aaron Rodgers there anymore. I thought to myself, they cannot lose this game. Then it moved to, well, they can win it. They can win. And now that we're a week away, I'm at a point where I'm confident enough to say they should win the game, because on paper, there's things that are in their favor. It's at their house in Chicago. Aaron Rodgers is no longer there. So, and I feel like a lot of Bears fans are kind of afraid of their own shadow, afraid of all these past failures and letdowns, that we're afraid to just say it. The Bears should win this game, period.
No, I'm with you. And, Tom and I were talking about that, and he goes, you guys, and I think he means people like you and me, we put the target on our backs because we can't help ourselves. And I'm sure that you saw the promo video that I made, and I'm like, I don't give a damn. I don't care. If people want to come back the next week and be like, oh, you look like, okay, being a fan is sort of foolish in and of itself. The fact that we get our emotions are so tied to these football teams or sports teams or anything like that, how it affects our moods. It is irrational to begin with. So why not go all in, and why not go out and say things with your chest? And I don't want to sit there, and I appreciate people being like, hey, I want to take it easy. I want to we're not sneaking up on anybody. Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I say, but I want to go out there. And even, what we talked about with Tyler Scott this week is that the Bears fans or the Bears themselves feel that they're ready to beat this team. They're sick of hearing this stuff. And so they're ready to go. And so I'm with you. I will not be able to emotionally handle it if they do lose, but I do expect them to win. I expect this to be different, and I expect Justin Fields to go out there and really put on one of the best efforts that we've seen from him on the field. And I don't think that you should back away from that, because there's nothing to be gained by I'm going to temper my expectations. You don't have a seat on you. That's just why you're not invited to Meatball Island.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what we do. Okay, you want to take your 5 wood off the tee? Why? Why are we here on this afternoon? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got this guy, Jim, one of our sales guy. I'm in the CHGO sports studios right now. And a couple days ago, he's giving me the hesitation. So I made him watch a 10-minute highlight reel of the last Bears-Packers game in December. So I'm trying to convince him, hey, quit being so scared of this. I understand we all, wait and see. They got to prove it. Justin's got to take the next step. But just go back and watch the last Bears-Packers game. With an abysmal roster, the Bears should have won that game. A lot of things went wrong for one missed field goal and one missed extra point, a Chase Claypool fumble that led to them losing. And thank God it did, because now the Bears have DJ Moore. But at the same time, if you watch that game, go back and watch it and tell me who the better quarterback, who the best player on the field was that day. Justin Fields was carrying an empty roster, an injury-riddled roster. He was injured himself. He shouldn't even have played in that game. And they still should have won that game. Now you add Tremaine Edmonds, DJ Moore, TJ Edwards. You add some beef on the offensive line with Darnell Wright. You know, it's to me, it's not even this, you know, crazed passion that we have as meatballs. There is logic in it to say you expect them to win. And it's okay to say that, Bears fans. It's okay.
Yeah, and having the improved weapons around him. And I love Darnell Mooney, and Tom was talking about how much he loved Darnell Mooney. For him to go back to be the 1B with DJ Moore being the undisputed number one, that is huge. Having Bob Tunyon out there is huge. That is a legitimate threat. They brought in Mercedes Lewis, so when they run some 12 personnel, he's going to be able to go on, although I do know he was on the practice report. If you want to poke holes at anything, and you talk about the offensive line needs to make some improvement, but at the same time, I think that this offensive line is still much better than it was last year, even without Tevin Jenkins. What's the latest on that? What have you heard from out there?
Well, I mean, everybody out here is concerned about whatever's going on with Nate Davis. And I think that a lot of Bears fans, you know, are quick to the trigger of criticizing and going to, you know, things of, oh, is he lazy? Is he not committed to practice? And then some video came out of the most recent practice in the period where media can film. They filmed an interaction between Matt Eberflus and Nate Davis, where it really seemed like Eberflus was more than just talking to him. It felt like he was consoling him. And that's where I think fans need to take a step back. We don't know what's going on with Nate Davis. You know, and hopefully everything's okay, but clearly there's something going on. It's impossible and not right to speculate, but at the end of the day, we don't know. And the hope is he's going to be out there on Sunday. And I would assume he is, but until we see it, I guess on Sunday, we're not going to know for sure, you know. And then the rest of the offensive line, of course, you know, Braxton Jones, I think, is kind of the steady Eddie, you know, the one guy that can play every week. You know, I don't know if he's teetering into the Charles Leno territory as someone that is just, you know, his best ability is his availability. You would hope his ceiling could get a little higher, but at the same time, what was he, a 5th round pick? You know, there's value in that. I don't love how they've done the switcheroo with center. I understand.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
There was hand injuries that have been involved. Seems like every player that plays center for the Bears hurts their hand this summer, whether it's Doug Kramer, Cody Whitehair, or Lucas Patrick. So, you know, to go all offseason practicing with Cody Whitehair as your center and going, oh, well, we think it's actually a better combination to have Lucas in the middle. At the end of the day, they both have experience. They bring in the mullet man Feeney, you know, who also has experience at center and guard. So there's you can mess around with that and move guys around if need be. But is it exactly quality depth? You know, they still have a lot to prove on that end. Cody Whitehair, it's been a few years since he's been in a Pro Bowl or played well. Lucas Patrick was hurt all of last year. We don't know what Feeney can be for this team. So, you know, there's some depth there, I guess you could say, with NFL experience, but is it exactly quality depth? That is the question.
That is the biggest thing. But again, you hope that, you know, Justin Fields is able to remedy some of that stuff. If he can get on rhythm, get rid of the ball quickly. I think that in the limited time during training camp or during the preseason games, they really showed like, okay, we're getting the ball into the hands of Khalil Herbert, DJ Moore. We're doing all that stuff. I know there's been some breakdowns. I'm curious about this too, because I know I was watching, I forget who the guy was who was breaking down the quarterback and was like, well, he missed here, he missed there. And it's so funny to me where two people can take the same piece of video and he's like, oh, Justin Fields clearly missed this. And it's like, and then there's another guy going like, no, he actually throws it to the back shoulder, keeps it away from the defenders, looks off the safety. And you're like, I'm just ready for this to be done. And I just hope that Justin goes out and throws for 300 yards and then we don't ever have to hear about this ever again. How confident? I'm still extremely confident in Justin Fields. Where are you on your trust meter with Justin Fields right now?
Yeah, I actually, and you're going to love the article. I put it out earlier today. If you get a chance to read it, I think you're going to love it because it pertains a lot to what we're talking about. Belief in this team, belief in Justin Fields. And the point that I keep making is I think we are at a point now where we're so hyper obsessed with the next step that Justin Fields needs to take, what he has to do to be a great quarterback, that I think we're starting to forget what he's already proven, who he already is. And that's a dynamic playmaker. And you can just try to brush it off and say it's only with his legs. He's shown it with his arm as well, with very lackluster talent, all due respect to Equanimeous St. Brown and Dante Pettis. Now you push Equanimeous St. Brown to the 6th wide receiver spot. There were times last year where he was your number one option. What are we talking about here? So my trust in Fields is still very high. I understand he has to prove things in regard to the pocket passing game, but he is the most dynamic playmaker this team has ever had since Devin Hester. Yeah. There's no one I've seen more electrifying in it, and it changes the way a defense can play. So we can overanalyze what we saw in preseason and training camp all we want. The other point I made all the way through that process was it wasn't a fair representation of what the offense was actually going to be. Justin is going to keep the defense on their toes when he gets out of the pocket, whether he runs for it or he keeps his eyes downfield and makes a play, sucks the defense in and finds the open man. He's going to create openings for wide receivers that most quarterbacks can't do because they stay in the pocket. And you can say, some of these that's what wins championships is staying in the pocket, name me off all the great pocket passers. It's turning. And Jalen Hurts, if they don't call the penalty on them at the end of last year and the holding penalty so the Eagles can't get the ball back, I think Jalen Hurts takes them down and has one of the greatest Super Bowl performances of all time. And that's in a dual threat system. And that's who Justin Fields is to me, is he can be every bit the player Jalen Hurts is, if not better. And we talked about this the last time I was on, that they're very comparable. And there's some Eagles fans that would be highly offended by what we're saying, but we're not saying Jalen Hurts isn't great. He is great. What we're saying is if you put Justin Fields on the Eagles, he could do very similar things, if not better, because his athleticism is leaps and bounds better than not just Jalen Hurts, most players in this league. So, in your point to the short passing game, we didn't just see it in preseason. We also saw that in training camp where he was able to continually find DJ Moore, Chase Claypool when he was healthy, and guys on the underneath and intermediate routes. And so I think that you are going to see an improvement in the short passing game. And then, the connections on the back shoulder throws downfield, that's going to take some time. You can find a guy wide open down the seam on some play action. I don't think Justin's going to struggle with that by any means, but there is, I think, some chemistry that still needs to be built with all these wide receivers, when they're trying to stretch the field. But I think the underneath stuff, which has always been a problem for this team, and the screen game, which has been a problem for the Bears my entire life, whether it's a wide receiver screen or a running back screen, it looks like they've got that process down. So I'm encouraged by the offense and Justin Fields going into week 1.
Yeah, I really am as well. And I'm excited to see it take hold, and especially with a quarterback like Justin Fields, who I've admired since his time at Ohio State. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also weirdly looking forward to the defensive side of the football, and not necessarily our friends in the secondary and our great linebackers that we signed in Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. But I really truly believe that bringing in Yannick Ngakoue and drafting the guys that we did, that we low key could be able to get some pressure on Jordan Love and really get him off rhythm. It's funny because when we had Carmen on Wednesday night, she covers the NFC North, and it's not just her, but it's a lot of people who always talk up David Bakhtiari. And you're like, that guy hasn't been good in 3 years, and he's still on the injury report. I think that one of the most pleasant surprises for a lot of people in this game is going to be the defensive line and just being in the mix. I think that we saw it last night with Detroit. All the improvements that they made on the defensive line, they were getting into and frustrating Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people weren't talking about that. They were talking about Kadarius Toney out there playing volleyball or doing whatever he was doing. It wasn't necessarily, but like I thought Detroit had a great job of getting pressure, and I really do believe that the Bears have done an excellent job of addressing ways to get pressure on the quarterback as well. What do you think about the front and getting a Jordan Love?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out. I mean, the guy I was most encouraged with on the defensive line at training camp was Andrew Billings. Now, how can he get to the quarterback? He's more of a run stuffer, right?
Yeah.
But to your point about Yannick Ngakoue, again, it's just so funny to watch the Bears pick up Tremaine Edmonds, the top linebacker on the market. This is a city that adores their linebackers, and pick up Yannick Ngakoue, whose resume speaks for itself. He is one of like only 5 players in NFL history to have 8 or more sacks in his first 7 seasons. He has like the 4th most sacks of any defensive end since he entered the league. And the other guys that he's among this list are premier pass rushers. I'm not saying he's Khalil Mack, but we pick up a guy like Yannick Ngakoue and we got excited the night it happened. But other than that, we're like, well, this team's still got to prove it. And I understand they have 26 new players to this team. Yeah. But a lot of them are very, very good players that have proven history in this league. And we're just at this point where we're like afraid of our own shadow. It blows my mind. But in regards to the defensive line, I'm obviously Yannick Ngakoue is going to help. We just haven't seen much of him in a Bears uniform. DeMarcus Walker you could tell he was going to be a vocal leader early on, and then he was out with injury. So again, another player we're just like, oh, I can't wait to see out there, but haven't gotten to see as much of him. But he's got that kind of Akeem Hicks vibe when he first came to this team, that you could hear him from the stands, letting the offense know, not afraid to get into it a little bit with his teammates across the line of scrimmage. So I'm excited to see him out there. The Bears, outside of Tevin Jenkins, are going to be a full roster. Everyone's going to be out there. So I know this defense is excited for that because they really haven't gotten to do that since the very early portion of training camp.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And, you never want to be I know that we have Tevin Jenkins because everybody's talking about Christian Watson right now. He's going to miss some time. I don't want to root for injuries or anything like that. But listen, we have injuries too. Like, I don't think it should be an excuse for anybody. But how do you think? Let's get down to it. Let's get to the brass tacks. Let's put our. It's not our mouths where our money is, but you know what I'm saying. Like, let's pick this. How do you feel? How do you think this game is going to unfold? How do you see things going Sunday afternoon?
Well, I mean, you said it. Say it with your chest, right? 31-17 Bears. That's what I'm saying. The Bears are going to put some points on the board here on Sunday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not afraid to say it. They're going to kick this team's ass, and because I just think there's a momentum building with this team and a chip on their shoulder because they hear all the stuff that people say about them, doubting about them. Justin Fields hears this stuff. His teammates hear this stuff. Chase Claypool heard all this stuff in the offseason. This defense, they all got a chip on the shoulder. This secondary has talked more shit here at training camp than any secondary I've seen in a while. Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon are ready to make a name for themselves in this league. So I think you're going to see a team that has a lot of fire and intensity here on Sunday. I think the Packers are walking into a hornet's nest. That place is going to be insane. It kills me that I won't be able to be in the stands because I'll be here at the studios, doing a pre and post game show. So yeah, it
welcome to the media. That's what happens now.
It kills me. It absolutely kills me inside because that place is going to be rocking. I'm going to walk to the stadium before the game just to be a part of the energy and atmosphere. I know you've done it before where you walk through the tunnels as you're coming up the south gate and people just going crazy in the echoing inside the tunnels of the Bears fans chanting different chants of go, bear down and Green Bay sucks and all the glamorous stuff.
Packers and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, I'm saying it with my chest. The Bears, it's gonna be a madhouse there, and I don't know if Jordan Love's ready for what he's about to walk into.
You know what? That's the greatest point right there. And I think like when everybody gets scared and they say things and they're like, I don't know, we've been down this. You're like, but it's not Aaron Rodgers. Like it is not Brett Favre. It is not either one of these guys. And people make fun of me and they're like, oh, the bad man's got like, yeah, the bad man is gone. That's exactly the freaking point is that he is gone. That was the great equalizer. And there are times that I think that even with Tom, like you kind of overlooked. I know that you love, like they love their team and they love to say that Bakhtiari he should be in the Hall of Fame and this defense is great. You're like, I don't think you understand how much stuff that Aaron Rodgers was able to overcome. Yeah. And I think that the only time that you really got a sense of it was in the NFC Championship games or the playoffs when you're like going up against really legitimate teams that were like, no, we can take this roster apart. I'm sorry, Mark Murphy. You're not as great as this as you think you are. Okay. And I think that they've had this false sense. And I know that Matt LaFleur has leaked Aaron Rodgers switched 30% of like he was saving your ass on 30% of your play. And this is a thing of like, I will even say this, and I agree with you. We're going to score points, but I do think that offensively, it's going to take us a little bit. I think like the first couple series, even the Lions, we saw it last night with a team that Jared Goff had been there before. And it took him a little bit, and that was a top 5 offense last year. But eventually, they started moving the football. I really do believe like the first, like it's going to be like, oh crap, here we go, like we can't move. But this defense is ready to take over and be the difference maker for us. It might not be the 85 Bears, but I think it could be a lot like the Mike Brown Bears. And I think that somebody's going to make a play, especially with the injuries, the guys like Christian Watson. Romeo Doubs is still banged up, even if he's available to go. And you've got so many inexperienced guys that there's going to be a mistake made and the Bears are going to capitalize it. Similar to what Detroit did. I mean, if Patrick Mahomes was out there struggling, what do you think Jordan Love's going to do?
Amazing what happens when a quarterback has receivers that can't catch the ball and an offensive coordinator that is calling jet sweeps in the moment that you need to put the ball in the quarterback's hand. Oh, by the way, he coached some of the quarterbacks here, and we didn't get those excuses, but I digress.
Was that the greatest? Okay, I know we're trying to talk up the Bears, but I swear to God, I was late to the game because I was out coaching my daughter's soccer team, which by the way, I gotta put this out there. We were the last team to get our kits, and our manager shows up, the team manager, and she shows up. I'm the coach, I'm the head coach. And so she shows up and I'm like, oh my God, we have red kits. And so I'm like, can we be called the Arsenal? And the kids are like, nope. Not a chance. I'm like, oh, I was so close. But at least I can wear all my Arsenal stuff and I won't look out of place. But I missed the game, or I didn't miss it. I had to watch it on a recording later. And as a matter of fact, my 5-year-old was not going to sleep. And I'm like, you know what? Then come downstairs with me. We're just going to go watch this game. And it was amazing to watch what was going on. And when Matt Nagy calls the jet sweep, I'm like, chef's kiss. Like, no. This is such a Matt Nagy call. Like, oh my God, like Cordero Patterson was probably at home watching this being like, yep, I've been there, bro. You have Patrick Mahomes. And the fact that you do not think of like, and I thought like the one thing that I loved about what the Lions did, and not to give them too much credit, but like the fake punt, the going for it, like not backing down. I think we're going to get a lot of that out of the Bears. And I think that we're going to be the aggressors. And we're going to be the ones that want to put it out there. And I think Green Bay is going to be like, hey, like I think even their players probably have this false sense of like, well, Aaron always backed us out of this. Like Aaron always got us out of this.
The Bears always blow it. I think there's a sense of that too.
And so, and I look at it and I think like once you're able to rely on somebody for so long, you get this false sense of security.
Yep.
And then when he gets punched in the mouth, things change. And I think now you're going to go in there with Jordan Love, who is a small school guy. He played in the Mountain West. And I don't care how much, he spent all this time on the sidelines learning the system. I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's not the same as going out there and playing. He's got to go out there and prove it. And he hasn't done it yet. At least Aaron Rodgers had that game against the Cowboys where you're like, oh God, he could be good. Oh, and by the way, when Aaron Rodgers was in his first season as a quarterback of the Packers, a team coming off the playoffs, They didn't make the playoffs. Even
Right.
Aaron Rodgers struggled in his first season. And yet everybody's acting like, and the NFL Game Day show is like, did the Green Bay Packers do it again? They got this promo. They had it in the fantasy show today that we recorded this morning. And it was like a secession promo. Like, did the Packers? I'm like, he hasn't played a goddamn game. He hasn't done anything. Like, if he goes out there and throws for like 350 yards and he's moving the team up and down the field, it'll be disgusting. But at least then you can come out with the, well, is this the next one? Do they find another? He hasn't even done that, and yet they're already willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. We get none of that. We're still the same terrible Bears.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly the point. And Justin Fields showed what he's capable of last year, even against the Packers, against the Eagles, against, where you can make a true comparison.
The Dolphins,
Jordan Love,
the Cowboys,
there's all these
Patriots.
Right. All these. Exactly. And Jordan Love, it's just the great unknown, the man behind the curtain. So, to me, I think Eddie Jackson is that prime candidate where you talk about a guy that's, waiting in the weeds like a velociraptor, like he's ready, man. And I watched him so many times take advantage of a quarterback that doesn't know his windows in Mitchell Trubisky at training camp many times where Eddie would bait him into throws he thought were open, and then here comes Eddie to pick it off. And I think you're going to see that on Sunday is a guy like Eddie Jackson taking advantage of an inexperienced quarterback because he may or may not be, better than Bears fans want to give him credit for. But at the end of the day, he has to build chemistry with rookie wide receivers who are still learning what to do on their own right. And then they have to learn to build chemistry with Jordan. And Jordan has to learn to build chemistry with his offensive coordinator or his play caller in Matt LaFleur, who's saying, oh, well, Rodgers did a lot of things himself. You're only helping our case as Bears fans because maybe you do have a system that you want to have work, but until you know how to run it without the threat of Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, it's a little easier to run the ball when the defense is constantly worried about Aaron Rodgers and that, devastating play action fake. Now Jordan Love has to prove it on his own right. And he's not going to know the same checks at the line of scrimmage that Aaron Rodgers, understanding what coverages he's looking at. Those are things you can only learn with live game reps. So, hey, maybe he has a good game, maybe not. But at the end of the day, he's still got a learning curve that he has to go through. And when you talk about between him and Justin Fields is ahead of him in that regard, as far as knowing the offense he's playing under and having some chemistry and some rhythm to what he's trying to do.
Oh, this is what I needed. This is the kind of talk that we needed. And this is what with Bears fans should be discussing right now. We should not be afraid of this Packers team. Don't be afraid of laundry. It's okay if we're up. Like, listen, if Aaron Rodgers was still there, I might not be talking this way, but there is
no because he flourishes in this. If it was a hornet's nest, he'd be like, good. If they were down 2 scores, he'd be like, good. You think if the Bears are up 2 score on Jordan Love and that place is going bananas, does Jordan Love have that same moxie? I'd love to find out, Adam.
Yeah, I'd love to find out too. And it's one of the things too, when you look at last season, Aaron Rodgers, broken thumb. Aaron Rodgers no longer wanted to be in Green Bay. And if you've ever been to Green Bay, you'd understand why. But he still brought his best games against the Bears because it meant so much to him.
Yep.
And you know what? Does it mean that much to Jordan Love? Is he that same kind of character? And it's just, I don't know. And it's funny to see that the media is also going the other way to acting like Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be good in New York. And I'm like, you guys are the flipping worst. I cannot deal with you. And so I just don't, it's just crazy to me.
You're only helping Aaron Rodgers when you say things like that.
Like, you don't think he's going to go and throw for 350 against the Bills? He's going to smoke that team. The Bills don't know. So that's a great thing about us is like, we're like, I keep telling everybody, especially the Bills fans around here, I'm like, you guys don't know what you're getting. Like, it's cute. And yeah, he's close to 40 and he does all these weird things. But like when Aaron Rodgers is pissed and he's on a heater, there's not a quarterback that you want to face. And so God bless you. And I hope that works out for you Buffalo Bills fans. But I've been down that road before and it sucks. But that's why we're so excited about this season. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm glad you were able to stop by, clear some time on your busy schedule. So you touched on it just a moment ago. You got an article coming out give us a way to find that, and then tell us where we can watch you on Sunday before the Bears victory and after the Bears victory.
Yeah, the article's already popped. It's on allchgo.com. I also linked it on my on Twitter. If you go to my Twitter page at gbraggsjr23, you can find it there as well. A little bit of a rally cry to Bears fans. Headlined, "Why not us, Adam? Why not?
Yes.
Why not us?
Why not us?" Jaquan Brisker was asking that. And
exactly.
So, and by the way, the 23, is that for Devin Hester or Ryan Sandberg or both?
Well, it's 23 is
Jordan
in Chicago. So Michael Jeffrey Jordan, Devin Hester, who is my favorite Chicago Bear of all time. I could show you an hour-long DVD I once made of all the Devin Hester highlights of his first couple of years in the league that he actually owns personally. And one day I'll make you sit down and watch it, and you'll love it.
You don't have to make me do anything like that. I will willingly do this.
Yeah. I played it on a loop in our tailgates last year and just like ushered people over so we could talk about the history of Devin Hester. But no, yeah. And then of course, CHGO Bears is who I work with. I'm here at the CHGO Sports Studios, and we do a live pregame show immediately before the game from 1 hour before the game, and then a postgame show immediately following the conclusion. So it's on, if you go on YouTube and search CHGO Sports, that's where I'll be with Adam Hogue and Mark Carman and some different guys, Nick Moriano and Will DeWitt from the stadium. So we got a big team. Corey Wooten, who ended Brett Favre's career.
Yeah,
he's a part of our team. So we got a lot of fun things popping. We got a tailgate we're going to do for every single home game. So I hope, Adam, that if you're ever in town for a home game this season,
we're working on it.
Cordially invited to come to our tailgate. We would love to have you and the energy you bring.
We're working on that. We're working on a sponsor and all that good stuff. So hopefully at some point this season, we will be out there in Chicago.
Awesome.
So I implore everybody to check out CHGO before and after the game. And as a quick reminder, here at the Sick Podcast, I will have my own thoughts. We'll be doing a little bit later. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all that stuff. And we'll have some great stuff. Plenty of Bears talk to be going around. So thank you so much. You again.
Yeah, we both have video game shirts on. I felt bad because you gave me the invite to the show just a little bit ago, and I'm like, crap, I should. This is kind of my bad. I don't have Bears gear on a football Friday. But the laundry, sometimes has to take a back seat.
I was not prepared for that.
But at the same time, we're kind of a little
we're good
here because we got the video game.
No, we look sharp. This is it. This is perfect Friday gear. I want to thank you, but thanks again. I know, again, thanks for pulling back the curtain and letting everybody know this was short notice. But I was like, I go, we're going to need a chaser after Tom. We need a pick me up, and I knew you were going to be the guy.
Hey, I'm honored. Like I told you, anytime you hit me up, I'll drop literally. Even if I'm producing a show in the other room, I'll tell them guys later, and I'll be over here with you, Adam.
Sorry, Nick, I'm leaving. Well, I appreciate it. So I'm gonna end this with this. We're gonna beat the Packers, and we're gonna beat them bad, and we're gonna sit there. And I hope you saw the hype video, but I hope Green Bay is offering some stock options because we're going to own their ass after this game. So for Greg and Tom, I'm Adam. We'll see you Sunday. Bear down. And Sammy, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by Underdog Fantasy.